Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your weather forecast. I'm meteorologist Mr. G here with you guys as we talk about that weekend forecast coming up. You know, I tried to post a forecast yesterday for a midweek forecast on Wednesday night, and it just did not load for some reason. YouTube never processed the video, so unfortunately that video is lost. But we do have a nice weekend video planned for you guys right here as we talk about that upcoming weekend. So if you've noticed that big storm that's been going across the East Coast, we saw severe weather, we saw some cold air, gusty winds, and showery weather behind the front. There's even some snow that we're going to be talking about that we're going to be seeing across parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin overnight. So let's jump into that weather forecast and welcome to your weather today. And weather today, we are seeing the storm system off the East Coast there. As you can see those bright white clouds on our satellite image, and we're seeing those clouds through the northeast right now this evening. So, and then we have some more clouds here back towards the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes area as we have our area of low pressure here, and you can see that cold air. That's what this dark gray signifies, is that cold air mixing in with whatever warmth is in the atmosphere and making those clouds and squeezing out some showers out of that. And we're also going to be seeing some snowflakes overnight tonight and into your morning hours tomorrow. But beautiful dry weather out west, not a cloud in the sky from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. Beautiful weather out there. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And let's talk about that storm system in the northeast now. Here's our live radar. We got showers and thunderstorms down here across South Florida as our front is going offshore and comes over the state of Florida there. And we have the main bulk of our frontal boundary here, and we see all of this rain across the northeast this evening, and we have some more rain here across the Great Lakes and the upper Mississippi Valley as we have that cold air, and there's some of that snow getting ready to drop down out of Canada as we see temperatures drop into the low 30s, cold enough to snow, where we could see some light snow across Minnesota and Wisconsin tonight. Here we are as we take a look at our current temperatures, where it's very cold across the northern tier of the nation. As you look up there across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and into Michigan, we're seeing those temperatures in the 30s and 40s right now. So it's really cold. We're just not used to that yet, but that's typical for this time of the year across the northern tier of the nation, but we're just not ready for it. So we do have that cold air that we're going to be contending with, and that's going to drop a little bit further to the south tomorrow night, so we're going to be seeing those lows in the 40s start to get as far south as Atlanta, especially as our secondary front that we're going to take a look at in a future slide here. We're going to be looking at their second front that's going to drop down and reinforce this cold air across the northern plains, but also spread some cooler air down here across the southeast as well and into the northeast as we see those temperatures in the 60s in the northeast along the coast. So Boston, New York, and everything, our temperatures in the 60s. We're seeing those 70s down here across the far southeast, South Carolina and Georgia. 70s also down here across the state of Florida. We got an 80 there in Jacksonville, and we have some 80s down along the Gulf Coast and across South Texas as well. We're seeing those 80s across the state of Texas. And in the southwest, we're seeing a little bit warm conditions at 95 out there in Phoenix in the deserts, 74 in LA, 66 in San Diego. We're also seeing those temperatures in the 50s and 60s across the Pacific Northwest and over to the Northern Rockies. We're seeing it kind of warm there right now, those temperatures in the 70s, like in Salt Lake City and Reno, Nevada there. We're seeing those temperatures in the 70s. So nice warm weather out west, but it's pretty chilly in the northern plains. And here we are as we take a look at those winds. That's the other thing that this storm has been providing a lot of, and that is high winds. As we're seeing winds in excess of 50 miles per hour, so we're seeing winds that are exceeding tropical storm strength winds out here across the central northern plains. So we have the Montana into the Dakotas, down to Nebraska and over into Iowa. You're also seeing those winds exceed 30 miles per hour. As you can see, that 52 and also a 53 mile an hour wind gust there through northern to North Dakota. So we're seeing a lot of gusty winds with this strong. As you can see, those isobars and those weather maps are going to be really tight because of those gusty winds that we're seeing on the backside of this low pressure area. Now here we are to take a look at our current surface map. This is our surface map with a radar overlay, and we're seeing our cold front here that's moving down off the northeast. That's dropping down out of the plains and through the southeast right now this evening. So we're seeing that cold front, and that is bringing all of that rainfall to the northeast that we're going to be seeing tonight. That rain is going to continue tomorrow, but our front is going to push through, and you're going to start to see those showers get confined to mainly New England. So you're going to see them from Boston north in the morning hours. So more rain showers to contend with there. But as you can see, it's going to be nice and dry behind the front. But you will see those temperatures drop down pretty dramatically across the northeast and the east coast tomorrow as this front passes through. And we're going to be seeing a few snowflakes there across northern Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin. You can see snow as far south as the Twin Cities. So Minneapolis and St. Paul could see its first snowflakes early in the morning tomorrow, but about the midday and in the afternoon, those snowflakes will be gone and will transition to rain as it warms up to transition back over to rain. But as you can see, another front is going to be dropping down and reinforcing that cold air coming out of the state coming out of southern Canada. So we're going to be seeing another Canadian low as we have a trough out here over the eastern half of the United States and our big ridge out to the west. So that is definitely providing the backdrop for this weather pattern that we're seeing. And tomorrow evening, our front drops a little bit further to the south toward the nation's midsection. So this is going to be dropping due south along the Mississippi River Valley. So we have the northern Mississippi River and the central Mississippi River Valley. In the Midwest there, we're going to be seeing a secondary front. This is going to be a pretty dry front as most of the moisture is caught up in our first front. So this one doesn't have a lot of moisture to work with, but what that is going to mean, that it's going to produce a lot of wind and very cold temperatures. So it's going to be blustery and cold, but you will start to see some clear skies later in the day across the northern plains and the Great Lakes areas out there in Minnesota. But you might see a few rain showers continue along the U.S.-Canadian border with Michigan out there tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, tomorrow night's forecast across certain cities across America, and we're going to be seeing those cold temperatures tonight across the northern plains and the Great Lakes. We're seeing those snows tonight, 35 in Minneapolis, 31 at International Falls. As you can see, it's cold enough to snow, and we're going to have some snowflakes in that forecast for that region tonight. And we're also going to be seeing those temperatures through the upper 30s across the Midwest as well, and in the Appalachian Mountain Range, some of those 30s, 40s, and 50s along the East Coast tonight. And we're going to be seeing rain showers and some thunderstorms possible as well along the eastern seaboard. And that's going to be from the mid-Atlantic states up to the Canadian border. Dry weather here across the mid-south and the southeast coast, but maybe a shower or thunderstorm down there in South Florida overnight tonight. And we have dry weather out on the west coast. Mostly clear skies across Phoenix tonight, as well as down through the state of Texas. We're looking at clear skies. We're looking at clear skies tonight across the central Rockies. Temperatures in the 40s in the overnight hours across the Rockies. Obviously much colder up there in the mountains, but down near the bigger cities, we're going to be seeing those temperatures in the 40s. Temperatures in the 50s along the west coast, 60s overnight down in Southern California, but we're also going to be seeing those 40s across the Pacific Northwest. Then tomorrow, we're going to be seeing much of the same temperatures in the 70s in the Pacific Northwest, and it's going to be in the 60s in Central California there in San Francisco, and those 70s down in LA. So we're going to see a temperature there, 75 in LA, and we're going to see a nice warm 97 for you folks in Phoenix, 93 in Vegas. So beautiful weather, again, is going to continue across the western half of the United States. Texas will see those temperatures in the 80s. Might pick up a 90 down there in San Antonio and Brownsville. But once again, very dry skies. Maybe a thunderstorm down there far south Texas along the Gulf Coast. A thunderstorm is also going to be possible down here in South Florida tomorrow as well. Miami could pick up a storm at a temperature of 83 degrees, but we're going to be seeing dry weather across the mid-south here and much of the Midwest, but we're going to be seeing those blustery conditions, and the blustery conditions also will continue here across the plain states. We got that rock, that the Midwest here. I'm having trouble remember this city right here in Sioux Falls, but it's right there in the middle. It's rock something. But we have these temperatures in the in the 60s there, but very windy conditions as well. So those Chinook winds are going to be blowing across the plains tomorrow, across the Midwest and the plain states there. And that cold is going to continue across the northern plains and the upper Mississippi Valley. Cloudy skies with a chance of rain and snow mix in Minneapolis and also in Sault Ste. Marie. And we're going to be seeing dry conditions start to take effect later in the day after showers and storms in the morning hours across the Northeast. So here we go as we take a look at tomorrow night's forecast. And those low temperatures, again, will start to drop into the 40s in the Northeast and along the Southeast coast as well. We're starting to see that secondary front. But look how cold it gets up here through Minnesota and Wisconsin, as well as the Dakotas. We're seeing those temperatures in the 30s, even some 20s up here in northern Minnesota. So it's starting to get cold out there, and we're starting to see it cold across the northern Rockies. But what's new with that? Very seasonal for this time of the year, and beautiful weather overnight across the West Coast, and warm across the state of Texas overnight as well, as your overnight lows might peak out about 70 degrees down here in San Antonio and in Houston. So for your day on Saturday, as we talk about your weekend weather forecast, but for the most part, it's going to be dry across most of the nation. We don't have any storms traversing the country right now, so we're going to be seeing that beautiful weather out west, those warm temperatures, warm down there in the state of Texas, where we're going to be seeing those 80s and some 90s down around the Gulf Coast. We can see a 92 down there in Dallas, and 91 in San Antonio, and 89 for you folks over there in Houston. So we have very warm weather down there across the state of Texas. And we start to moderate across Minneapolis a little bit as our highs on Saturday reach a balmy 54 degrees. And we're going to be seeing dry weather there, but some clouds around, and beautiful weather in the Northeast as it gets a little bit windy because our storm front has passed. So we're going to be seeing dry conditions, but it's going to be breezy across the mid-Atlantic states. But in New England, a little bit on the warm side, as we can see a high of 70, and over in the 70 up here in not Maine, but we're talking about New Hampshire. 70 degrees there, and we're looking at 68 for you folks down there in New York City, 70 in Boston. So very warm conditions across the East Coast, mid-70s to low 80s across the Southeast, and 80s across the state of Florida. And as we take a look at your Saturday night, again, temperatures start to moderate a bit across the Southeast as we're starting to see those lows approach the 50s and 60s, and the mid-60s as well. Still cold across the northern plains. 39 in Minneapolis for an overnight low on your Saturday. So still cold. Those temperatures in the 30s and 40s across the northern tier and into the Northeast. But we do start to see those 50s creep in along the big cities. So along the coast, it's going to be warmer again with those temperatures overnight in the 50s. And again, 60s for lows in the West Coast and the Southwest down there. Here we are as we take a look at your Sunday weather forecast. We're going to start to see things improve across the state of Texas, as Texas is going to get a bit of a reprieve from the warmth, and we're going to start to see those 80s dive a little bit further to the Gulf Coast there. So we're going to see those temperatures in the 60s to mid-70s across central and northern Texas here. But from southern Texas, we may see those temperatures in the mid to upper 80s for your daytime on your day Sunday. And we're going to continue to see things cool off here in the West Coast as we have a weather system that's going to be moving across the Southwest. We might see some rain showers in Albuquerque as well, but we're definitely going to be seeing cooler weather out on the West Coast, but still dry for the most part. And we could see some rain showers and thunderstorms possible in Oklahoma City, as you guys have have a high of 70 degrees on your day Sunday, as we have a storm system that's going to move across the southern tier of the nation, and that little piece of energy is going to help to cool things down on the west coast, but it's going to stay dry still for the most part. And then down here across Florida, those temperatures going to be in the 80s, so you might approach 90 down here by Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And in the northeast, we're going to be seeing those temperatures in the 70s right along the coast, those upper 60s to lower 70s, and we're going to be seeing in those 50s near the interior along the St. Lawrence River in the Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. So the Great Lakes, we're going to continue to see that cool weather and that nice 44 there in Minneapolis. So it's going to take another cool shot at Minneapolis after a bit of a recovery on Saturday. So that is a look at your daytime. And here's your Sunday night, so we can wrap this forecast up. And as we take a look, there's that cold air again across the northern plains. And we're seeing those 20s in Minot, and we're seeing about 30 degrees in Minneapolis. So it's really cold, cold enough to snow. So it's going to be very cold out there Sunday night, because next week we have an even bigger storm that's going to be coming in, and we're going to cover that storm later this weekend as we get you ready for the week ahead. So that bigger storm is going to bring even cold air and naturally a more legitimate shot of snow across the northern plains in the Great Lakes area next week. So be ready for that, guys, okay? So that is a look at your weather forecast for this weekend. My name is Mr. G. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys all in the next video. And don't forget to check me out on TikTok every day as we have our daily weather forecast over there. So going over there, the link is in the bio and it's in the description of this video. Bye-bye.